On Tuesday, we're going to have voters finally decide in New Hampshire, and Bernie, unlike nationally, was actually supposed to crush her in this one, but now his lead has been shrinking every single day, and one poll actually today had him leading by just 9 after he was up by more than 20. Peter, what is the actual number at which Sanders has underperformed?
You want a number for Tuesday?
No, but I mean, he was supposed to win by 20, so if he doesn't reach expectations, it's a loss, right? So what is that number?
Yeah, I mean, he needs to have whatever people are going to accept as a clear victory. So, I mean, anything close to Iowa is not going to cut it for him. But, you know, the idea of coming out ahead 5, 6, 7, 8 points, something like that, you know, where he can come out and say, look, I beat her. You guys talk about electability. I just beat her. I either beat her in Iowa or came pretty darn close. I beat her in New Hampshire, and now we're moving on to Nevada and then South Carolina. That's really what he needs to be able to say coming out of it. Hillary, you know, she was kind of hinting about an underdog strategy for herself. I mean, again, that is just gonna fail. Nobody sees her as an underdog, and it isn't going to be good for her to come out, you know, and try to play that game. Well, she may.
What I think is going to happen is that New Hampshire will go to Sanders, and then obviously South Carolina to Clinton, and they'll just kind of be a wash-off. Those two will just cancel each other out, and it's on to whatever's next.
Josh, is there a magic number?
South Carolina.
Yeah, is there a magic number? Will he actually? How big a deal is it if he doesn't reach it?
If Sanders wins by 5 or 10%, I think that's a success. Polls before any major election are always wishy-washy. You can never actually guarantee the numbers. So I think a 5 or 10% victory is good enough. If he beats her by any more, then it's a landslide. If he loses by less, if he beats her by like a couple percentage points, then, you know, maybe we can question it. But I think it'll really come down to South Carolina. If Sanders can not get beaten by like 10 or more in South Carolina, that'll be more impressive.
Oh, New Hampshire is weird because independent voters can vote in whatever primary they choose, and New Hampshire has a lot of independent voters. Josh, how big a factor do you think that'll be in the Democratic side or the Republican side?
Here's the thing. I think it will be a bigger factor on the Republican side just because there's so many different types of personalities over there. You know, you're probably going to get, like, Trump's probably going to have some pretty good independent support. You might see Ben Carson with some sleeper independent support because he did well in Iowa after completely, I mean, for what he should have gotten like Iowa's another exactly like 2%.
Iowa's the kind of place that guy should do well. I don't think there's another place.
That's true. That's true. A couple prayer circles and you got at least 4%. So I think it'll be a bigger deal for them. But the thing with, like, on the Democratic side, I don't know, with elections, the polls, right, you know, as it gets closer to election day, the polls tend to be, you know, get more accurate. And I wouldn't be surprised if you looked at those polls that Hillary's gains are coming from the undecided voters. And that's how she beat Obama in 2008. Now, again, she likes to say that, you know, she came into New Hampshire in 2008 completely the underdog and beat Obama, but Obama had a momentum bump from winning Iowa, and she was able to beat him still. And I think, but if she does if this happens this time, she ties or actually wins New Hampshire, I think that will be a big fucking deal. And if Bernie but if Bernie wins clearly, I say if it's under 5 points, Hillary might, be able to throw some shade sort of the way he did with Iowa. But I think ultimately South Carolina and Nevada are going to be the really big tests because those are the states that have the high Hispanic and high African American majorities. Bernie doesn't have to win South Carolina, but if he doesn't get at least half the black vote, he's in some serious trouble.
On the Republican side, it's an interesting narrative because Ted Cruz won Iowa, but it's been your boy Marco Rubio that's rising in the polls and getting the Iowa bump. In fact, not only
I'm Team Hillary, Team Rubio somehow. I don't know how this happens.
You're the only representative, Team Rubio. But there was actually not only has Rubio been not only has Rubio been in second place now for the last week, there was a poll that came out today in which Kasich is third and Cruz is fifth behind even Jeb Bush. Josh, do you think that Ted Cruz can finish in the top three in New Hampshire, or do you think that the moderate guys will rally behind someone like Kasich?
I mean, here's the thing. I don't know if I can divorce my hopes and dreams too much from to be analytical about this. I'm not surprised because again, New Hampshire does not go for the I'm a Christian first, American second horse shit. That is not what you do in America or in New Hampshire. New Hampshire, what you live free or fucking die, So I feel like the guys who are trying to sell themselves as the adults in the room, which are Bush, Kasich, and Rubio, because again, they're all talking conservative nonsense. Like they all want to, require, if you consider abortion, you have to get pregnant twice or something. Like they're ridiculous, but it's sort of reading between the lines. They try to be the adults, and I think that's what plays in New Hampshire. So that's why Kasich is doing better. I would be shocked if he finishes in the top four. And if Cruz doesn't, that's pretty impressive. That would be, I think, really impressive. And if anything, the best evidence we have yet as why Iowa should just shut the fuck up for at least one cycle.
Go back to farming.
Due respect to Iowa, we love Iowa at Latest.com.
We can get all behind that one. Yeah.
All right, well, with that said, Eric, who do you think will win the New Hampshire Republican primary? And who will finish 1, 2, 3?
Maybe I'm hopping on Team Rubio over here.
Do you think that he can actually beat Trump, or do you think he can come close?
No, I think Trump wins it. I think Rubio comes second,
How
and then
close?
third will be one of those. How close? I don't know. It's a tough one. I think Trump wins by 3 to 5%. I can't give an exact number.
I like it.
I think within 3 to 5% Trump wins. Then it's Rubio. Then we have a little bit of a drop off into one of those other candidates like Kasich or possibly, I don't want to say Jeb because his campaign's been so pitiful, begging for.
But even Jeb finished ahead of Ted Cruz in this last poll.
I know, but we all know polls before these elections are kind of faulty. I want to say that Ted Cruz squeaks in pretty close to third or fourth just because of his Iowa victory. But hey, if he doesn't, yeah, let's give a big middle finger to Iowa and just push them out of the picture from now on.
Well, yeah. Josh, I guess it's a foregone conclusion.
Trump
is most
Iowa.
likely going to win. How close do you think Rubio finishes?
I would think that if the the perception of Trump's sort of downslide, again, the saying fuck is really going to help him, I think. I really do. I think people are going to love that. Because, again, if you're angry the Trump people are angry, you really want to hear finally a president talking like I talk. So I think he does well. I think Rubio, it's either going to be he really underperforms and everybody's kind of even, or he does come in way first and then everybody, like Rubio, Bush or Kasich, one of those guys, maybe sneaking into third. I wouldn't be surprised, again, if Carson is in there too, just because he's not as Christy, as religious as Ted Cruz.
Well,
I know what I mean.
Argue with you on that one.
What I mean by that is Cruz is very aggressive with his religion stuff. He's I believe in Jesus. And, Ben Carson is just I believe in Jesus. He's cool. He's very soft-spoken about it. And I feel like New England religious people like that. They're the fucking ones who are pray in private and shut up about it. So I think he might be one of the, low-end ones. Cruz might do well because he's the devil, but I don't know.
Peter?
But yeah, I think it'll be Trump, Rubio, and another establishment guy.
Peter, how close do you think Rubio comes in New Hampshire on Tuesday?
I mean, it's really in the hands of God. I can't speak to his will, but I think Rubio's going to do well. I think Trump will win, but not by much, because people there are just not going to, buy into his crap as much as they did in Iowa. I think Rubio's going to do very well. I think he'll be very close. I think third is going to be a very interesting battle. I think in the end, Cruz will probably pull enough votes to be in third, but I think it's going to be very tight. And if there's a break, somebody there, I could easily see Kasich nudging himself into third, and really putting this race back into the interesting category. If for any reason Trump were not to win, that, as though we've predicted it many times, that could easily be the beginning of the end for Trump.
So one question for you, Josh. How many percentage points is the fuck worth?
Oh, I'm gonna say 6, maybe 6 percentage, right. 6 fuck points.
Okay, so
one other thing I do want to, I have a question though.
What the quote was from, the Trump quote, he was talking about the companies that went off to Mexico and moved their operations there, and he's saying how he's going to make them come back, but then once he makes them come back, you can tell them to go fuck themselves. Well, then why even bring them back?
Yeah.
What are you going to say, Josh?
I was just going to say, I don't know if the guys who dropped out of New Hampshire are going to be on the ballot, like your Santorums and your Rand Paul. And if they're not going to be on the ballot, they won't matter. But if they are, I wouldn't be surprised if there weren't some Republican turnout that just gave their support to these guys who are gone just because, especially the Rand Paul guys, because pretty much all of them are now talking about fucking Gary Johnson or whoever else the Libertarian Party is putting up. And I went to their website. There's a guy, I swear to God, in a cavalry uniform, but it's not the United States cavalry. It's that shit. So those guys are not going to be voting Republican in the general. So I don't know. It'd be interesting to see if they still try to give Rand Paul a strong showing or something like that, because Santorum's going to go to Ted Cruz. Yeah, so I mean, that might play a role too. That might eat up somebody's, somebody like Kasich.
What?
Yeah, but his supporters don't back Santorum because they like what he thinks. They just like the fact that he wants to make all abortion.
I mean, if you're a Santorum or Huckabee supporter, there's still tons of options out there for you. You can still jump.
Yeah, you're gonna go right to Cruz. You're gonna go right to Cruz because he's.
Or Carson.
I mean, how did he start his stupid speech? To all the glory to God. It's come on, man. You thank the voters first, God second.
All right. Well, on the other side, Peter, how close? Did you want to jump in? I was just going to ask, how close do you think Hillary comes to Bernie in New Hampshire?
I don't know. I haven't seen the most recent polls. I mean, we've been kicking around the 5% number, and for lack of a better one, I'll just throw in with 5%. There's no more debates, right? There's no more Democratic
Not
events.
Until after. No.
Not that
So
yeah.
I'll go with the 5% plus. I'll go 5% and up.
Eric, do you think she can cut his lead that much, given what he started with?
Well, I mean, looking at the polls from today, he's only up by 9 or so. So I think, he'll score a 5 or 10% victory, closer to the 5. 10 would be a pretty solid victory in his hands. So if, he gets 55 or 56%, then I see her coming a little below that.
Josh, do you think that she can finish that close to Sanders?
Again, barring any, without any sort of surprises. For example, I wonder if Hillary wouldn't have won Iowa much more handily if the State Department hadn't all of a sudden been by the way, 22 emails, can't see them, happy voting. I don't know. That made no sense to me. So unless there's nothing like that, I think Hillary does get close. I think it's going to be 3 points tops between them. And then again, Hillary will call it a victory, Sanders will call it a victory, and then they'll both move on to South Carolina where, this will probably continue until at least Super Tuesday.
What's our prediction of South Carolina? Because I feel like that's a more interesting one.
There really hasn't been a lot
but
of
it's gonna
polling,
be,
so it's a little more difficult. But it's
Yeah.
probably going to be. I mean,
and
Hillary's
they're
going to
gonna,
challenge him. I don't think that he can cut into her lead the way she has here in New Hampshire. Into
I think
his lead.
60-40 on South Carolina for Clinton.
here's the thing, they're going to campaign completely differently. Like, I mean, Hillary Clinton, we're going to get Black Preacher Hillary again, which is one of my favorite Hillarys. I mean, I love when she gets her Black Preacher Hillary. And here's the thing, Black people love it too. Like, they love seeing, like, the old corny white lady trying to be like, I've been no ways tired, or whatever the poem was.
That was a great quote. Statistically, Black people do favor her a lot more than Sanders, so that's definitely going to be a big help. All right, one last question. Let's fast forward to.
But then again, Sanders has. I was just gonna say, Sanders does have, I think, better inroads with, like, the Black Lives Matter groups, which is going to really help him with the youth. It's just that I don't know if the Black Lives Matter movement and the sort of older, middle-aged to older, Black vote, I don't know how they all feel about it. Like, there might be some support, but then again, there might not be, because
I think it's the same as
how that
white voters. I think older voters do tend to favor Hillary, and younger voters, whether white or black, do tend to favor Bernie. So, okay, last question. Let's fast
it's true,
forward
and
to.
we think like. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You can finish your thought.
Well, I was just going to say, we tend to think of it as like one big voting block because of how it turned out for Obama, and when the black vote is that one big group, it can sway the decision, and I think that's why, and so that's why I think that that's the sort of the most important contest. I mean, I really don't think that Hispanics are, like, the Hispanic vote, Democrats are going to fight as hard for it as they need to, or as they thought they might have, because Trump pissed all over the RNC's reach out to the Hispanic initiative. So
we'll see what happens if the nominee does happen to be a Hispanic, though. All right.
That's true.
Eric, Wednesday, we look back at the New Hampshire primary. What's going to be the biggest surprise on Tuesday?
Biggest surprise? Maybe Clinton edged closer than she deserved to.
Okay. Josh, biggest surprise on Tuesday night?
Ted Kennedy comes back to life and announces his candidacy.
You might win too, Peter.
Wins the primary in a landslide. No, I think the biggest surprise will end up probably being, if there is a surprise, something about Hillary, something not good about Hillary.
Okay. All right, so I got two different ways to go here. Email. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Another one. Peter, biggest surprise that we can look forward to Tuesday night?
I think it's going to be on the Republican side. It's either going to be how well Rubio does or how poorly Ted Cruz does, or some combination of the two. I think the Democrat side is the script is written, and I don't think it's going to change so significantly that it'll be the news.
Well, I think John Kasich can also surprise some. I think John Kasich can also surprise some people. It's in New Hampshire. That's pretty much it. But
does it matter?
Yeah.
No. But in the end of the day,
first of all, he is the best candidate with a Pittsburgh accent in the race.
I mean, he actually would have been a good candidate if it was a different race. But I think he can sneak in there. But this is the four of us talking, so you could pretty much bet on none of this happening. Bernie's going to win by 30 points, and Jeb Bush is going to win the New Hampshire primary.
Yep.
So,
Jeb Bush 2016.
Jeb Bush 2016. We'll leave you with that. Tune in next Wednesday after the primary, and we'll see how wrong we were. Thanks, and keep reading Latest.com.